Hi everybody, now we're going to continue looking at equatives in Pashto. In the last video we introduced what equatives are and basically how they work, and today we're going to look a little bit more about how they work with adjectives. If we say that some noun is an adjective, how does that work? And also how they work with noun phrases. So if we say that one noun is another noun, then what happens? And that's pretty interesting in Pashto. So again, the basic form is that we have we're basically saying A equals B, and we lay it out as A, B equals. We have a subject, something we're talking about. We have a predicate, and what that subject is. And then we have our little equative word to tie it all together. So like we said before, the subject is always a noun phrase. And then the predicate can be a complement, and the complement can be an adjective. And the thing that's interesting is that when we're saying that a noun is an adjective, like if I say that I, a noun, am tired, an adjective, then we have to link the adjective with the noun. The adjective has to agree with the gender and the number of the noun. For instance, if I say sare, a man, and if I say he's tired, stare, then the tired has to agree with the man. It has to be masculine singular. And then the equative also has to agree. So sare, stare, de. But if I'm talking about a khaza, about a woman, then I have to say khaza stare, da. So the stare changes to stare because it's a feminine form of that. If I say khalak, people, then it's masculine plural. And then I have to use sturdy. So stare changes to sturdy because that's the masculine plural form. And then again, the equative agrees. So khalak sturdy, the people are tired. When we have an adjective like stare, how do we know how it's going to change? And how do we know how to make it agree with the subject we're talking about? Now, thankfully in Pashto, it's not just a bunch of madness that you have to memorize. There's just a few simple patterns that show you how these words change. And that's another topic for another video. But for now, I'll just tell you that if you look up a word like stare in the Lingdoc's Pashto dictionary, you'll see below the word, you'll see a chart with inflections. And it looks something like this. If I show you like this, and here you'll have a bunch of different forms of the word. So on the top row, we have the plain forms, and we have a masculine and feminine form. Those are the way it is when it's not inflected, if it's masculine or feminine. And then the second row, we have the first inflection. If it gets inflected once, then it turns into those forms. And then the bottom row is if it is inflected twice. Now, for our purposes, we're just going to worry about the first two rows in this video today. And I'll show you how you pick the right inflection to match the subject that you're talking about. So if we look at, if we try to build some more sentences like we were building in the last video, so we want to take a pronoun and we want to take an adjective. We'll take stare, tired, as our adjective, and then we want to build it with these equatives. So now, like I said, the top row is the plain uninflected form, and that's what we'll use for singular nouns. So if a noun is singular, we're going to use either the masculine form or the feminine form. But if the noun is plural, then we have to use the first inflection. So we use these forms here on the bottom. So let's try this out. If I say hara, and I'm talking about him, then I have to say the masculine singular form of this adjective. I have to say he's tired. Hara stare de. Hara stare de. And there's the full sentence like that. Hara stare de. But if hara is talking about a girl, then I have to say hara stare da. Hara stare da. So stare changes to stare like that. Hara stare da. Now, if I'm talking about them, harui, third person plural, then if I am talking about a group of men or mixed people, then I would say studi. You'd use the first inflection of the masculine form. So harui studi di. Harui studi di. But if the group is all female, then I have to say haruisteredi. Haruisteredi. Now let's try talking in the first person. If I say z, I, and I'm a man, then I have to use the plain masculine form of the adjective. So the first row, masculine form, zstereyem, zstereyem, like that. But if I was a woman, then I would have to say something with the feminine form of the adjective. So I'd have to say zstereyem. It's kind of hard for me to say. Zstereyem. So let's try a different adjective. Mor, for full, as in like you're full, you've eaten too much food. So the inflections for that one are like this. And again, we're only going to use the top two rows. So let's put them there. And let's try to say, I am full. And now if I'm a man, I will say, zamoriam. Zamoriam. I am full, and I'm a man. If I was a woman and I was full, I'd have to say, zamarayam. Like that. Zamarayam. I am full. If we're talking about us, we are full, we had lots to eat, then we would say mung mareyu. Mung mareyu. Notice there I took the first inflection there, the second row, because we're talking about a plural noun. And I use masculine because we're talking about a masculine we. But if we were a group of all women, then we would say mung mariu. Mung mariu. So let's try some more with some other nouns. So let's try kitab. So kitab is a masculine singular noun. And let's use the word green. And so here's the inflections for green here, shin. So if we're saying a masculine singular book is green, then we're going to say kitab shin de. So we use the third person masculine de because the book is masculine singular. And we also use shin, the plain masculine form. Kitab shinde. Now if we say kitabuna, what's it going to be? Kitabuna shnedi. I'm using the masculine inflected form because it's a plural masculine noun. Kitabuna shnedi. If we say kitabcha, which is a booklet, it's a feminine singular noun, then we're going to say kitabcha shnada. Kitabcha shnada. If it's plural, kitabchi, booklets, this is feminine plural now, then we're going to have to use the first inflection of the feminine form. Kitabchi shnidi. Kitabchi shnidi. So to review our form here, we have a subject, a predicate, and an equative. The subject is always a noun phrase. So that noun phrase can be something like something as simple as a pronoun, I, or it can be a full phrase like da newe kitab, this new book. This is a noun phrase. So it can be all sorts of things, anything that is a noun, basically. And then our predicate so far has been a complement. And what is a complement? Well, it can be an adjective. So, for instance, we could use an adjective like kha, or stere, or takra, like strong, well, able, or khoshala. So those bottom two, takra and khoshala, they don't inflect. You don't have to worry about that. But the top two, they will inflect. So they have to inflect and change to agree with whatever the noun is. So I can say, da newe kitab khade, then kha is agreeing with da newe kitab. And a complement can also be a location adverb, an adverb that shows the location of the subject. So, for instance, delta, alta, lere, meaning far, or nazdi, meaning near. So I could say, za lereyam, I'm far away, or za nazdiyam, I am close by. It can also be a sandwich. That's a word that I'll use to talk about what some people might say are prepositional phrases. But in Pashto, we have prepositions and postpositions. So we'll just, rather than saying an adpositional phrase, we'll talk about a sandwich. So that, sorry for all the crazy words there, but that's little things like pakorki. So we have little phrases that are made up of putting prepositions and postpositions together, or a word like letasara, with you, or daharui lapara, for them, or dahari, hers. So we could say something like da newi kitab daharui lapara de. this new book is for them. Or za pakorkiam, I am at home. The other thing that a complement can be is a complement noun from a compound verb, but we won't worry about that right now. That's another topic for another video when we get into compound verbs and stuff like that. So what I want to say about this is that when we have this structure, when we have a noun phrase as our subject and we have a complement as our predicate, well, the subject is always going to be the king. So the equative will agree with what the subject is. But there's another way to build equative sentences. We can also, instead of a complement, we could use another noun phrase as our predicate. What would that look like? So, for instance, if I said kitabuna as a subject and as a predicate, I said khoshali. So books are happiness. We can say that in English, books are happiness, but how would we say that in Pashto? Would the equative agree with kitabuna, which is masculine plural, or would it agree with khoshali, which is feminine plural? Well, in this case, the predicate is always king. The be here is always king. So the equative is going to be da. Kitabuna khoshali da. You always have to agree with the second thing here. If we said it the other way around, if we said khoshali kitabuna, then we have to say di. Khoshali kitabuna di. So that's actually kind of the opposite way as it works in English. So we say kitabuna khoshali da or khoshali kitabuna di. And the equative is always going to agree with the second thing, the predicate. Just one more example. If I say mina, and if I want to say that love, mina is a good thing, khashe, then I could say mina khashe de. Mina khashe de. Okay, so just to review, if we build an equative with a noun phrase and a complement, then the noun phrase, the subject, is going to be king. But if we build it with a noun phrase and another noun phrase, like the examples we just saw, then the predicate is going to be the king. So to finish things off, with all we've learned, let's try a few more exercises or questions where you can try to build some of your own sentences. So to do that, I'm going to teach you one more adjective, drund, which is heavy, and here's the inflections. So I don't expect you to memorize that right away if you're not familiar with it. I'll keep it in the bottom corner here. But try, knowing this new adjective here, try to say, kitabuna, the books are heavy. How would you say that? Now you can pause the video, try to figure this out, and try to say it out loud or write it down or both. Okay, it's kitabuna dranadi. Kitabuna dranadi. Now notice there we took the first inflection, drana, because we're talking about a plural noun, and we took the masculine because it's a masculine plural noun. Next question, mashuma. So this is a feminine child. Mashum would be a male child, and mashuma is a female child. So how do we say that the female child is tired? Mashuma sterida. Mashuma sterida. Again, we took the feminine form of the first row. And if it's a male child, mashum, then what do we say? Mashum steride. Mashum steride. Okay, here's a bit of an interesting one. Ubu, water, is actually a feminine plural noun. Ubu. So if we want to say the water is cold, we're going to use the adjective sor for cold. So here's the inflections are on the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Go ahead and try to say the water is cold. Ubu saridi. Ubu saridi. Okay, last one. Let's say ghurbat, poverty, which is a masculine singular noun, is a big problem. Ghartastunza, feminine plural. So now we've got two noun phrases. And how are we going to link them together? Ghurbat ghartastunza da. Notice we use the feminine, the third person feminine singular equative because it has to agree with the second noun phrase here. So again, to review our structure we've learned, with an equative we have a subject, a predicate, and our equative word. We can do that by saying we have a noun phrase and a complement. like an adjective, an adverb of place, or a sandwich. And in that case, the subject is the king. The equative agrees with the subject. Or our subject can be a noun phrase, and the predicate can also be a noun phrase. And in that case, the equative has to agree with the predicate. In that case, the predicate is king. And that's it for the structure of phrases with equatives. And in the videos ahead, we'll learn more about other types of equatives, not just present equatives, but habitual and past tense and future tense and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for more.